Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on turbotax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
BTW, FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an adjustable implant, 68 milligrams radiopaque. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, Chicago. What do you say? Cubs gonna win today.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise podcast. It's the Cub podcast, and we're going to talk about the winners and losers of this year's trade deadline with a couple of the biggest winners that I know, Praz and Oleg. What did you think I was going to say?
What an honor. Thank you, Andy.
Well,
of course,
I thought you hit your head and thought you had Dave Brown on again.
Thought you were going to go biggest wieners that you know, but...
Yeah. I don't
mean a couple things.
I'll take your word for that. I got a trivia question for you here. What do Jock Peterson, Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Christopher Morel all have in common?
They've never been in my kitchen.
That's right, Cliff.
Correct. Neither in my kitchen, too, but I think I know where you're going with this. They homered in their first game after being traded from the Cubs.
That's right.
Yep.
The one thing Jed's good at. Giving other teams a free homer. When I saw the Morel homer tonight, I was like, of course he did. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
Free at last. It's weird. I was watching the highlights and the Rays dugout was going nuts. And I know they traded most of their team, but their dugout already looks like more fun than the Cubs dugout has been forever. Like
of course.
It's almost like he got back in the dugout and he's like, oh, this is better. This is fun.
Well, they don't have Ian Happ.
Exactly.
Like Brian McCann of the Braves was like, the fun police. Everybody. You gotta be. Of course.
They would greet someone at home plate after celebrating too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget who. Yeah, he did. He almost got in a fight with somebody. Kind of like Carlton Fisk and Deion Sanders. Pudge didn't like that Deion was strutting around on a home run, and he yelled at him because he's a red ass.
It's always weird white guys who are the fun police.
I don't feel like Ian Happ is the fun police. He's just the
dull.
he's just the turd in the punch bowl, I think.
All right.
Yeah,
He's just
the
kinda
fun sucker.
Yeah. But, so the Cubs made, how many trades we end up with? 3?
Yeah, right.
Traded for the incredible fireballing right-hander, Calvin Schiraldi's son, Nate Pearson, from the Blue Jays. They traded Christopher Morel and Hunter Big E and some other guy to the Rays, and got Isaac Paredes. I like the fact that he goes Isaac. That's a better pronunciation. Than
It's a fun pronunciation. I'm sure Pat Hughes will have some fun with that.
Totally
And-
righted that trade now.
And they traded Mark Leiter Jr. to the Yankees for they get Corey Black again. Is that who they got from the Yankees? They might as well. It doesn't matter. Who gives a
That's
shit?
what
Torres. They got
Two
Blake
guys.
Torres back.
2 guys that you're never gonna see. Great job, Jet. That was great.
Apparently, the shortstop from that trade is like out for the season too.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Pre-injured.
that really establishes it.
I did think, I don't know if I didn't, I haven't seen the calculations. They were perilously close now to going over the luxury tax, because the difference between Paredes' remainder of his salary and Morel's was like 1.1 million, and Leiter doesn't make that much.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that was enough to.
I'm
like,
sure
that's
it
gotta
was
be
part of their
Cub Florida.
calculations. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd have traded, I don't know. They would have traded Justin Steele just to get under the last
Oh,
minute.
God.
What do you give me for Steele? I got to get his money off the books. So we're going to have to pay the tax. They did not trade Big Jamison Tyon.
Nope.
Do we think that was because they didn't get an offer that they thought was good enough, or teams eventually were like, oh, God, it's Jamison Tyon?
You could have just stopped that sentence after offer.
Yeah, didn't get an offer.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think at all that like him starting last night had any sort of impact on
No,
whether teams
That
wanted
was
it or not?
That was his own way of activating a full no trade clause.
I thought for sure he was just
There
going
you go.
to get hurt. Oh, my back. It's out.
My arm.
I think I will say this. I think to be fair, we do have to recognize that the Cubs did sort of make another trade, and that they lost another player, and that is Jesus Tinoco.
They did.
Designated
That's
for
right.
assignment to make room for.
Couldn't even last
Immediately.
2 podcasts with us together.
I know, right?
And he immediately got snapped up by the Marlins, who have like 3 guys on their roster. So
Yeah.
anybody who got cut today, the Marlins immediately claimed. So good for them.
Yeah.
I got a feeling last night when he made the start, I felt like, well, they're not trading him now. Like they have basically figured out at this point, we're not getting the offers. We're not going to do it. So we might as well let him pitch. Because otherwise, wouldn't you have just pushed him back a day?
At least, or something like what
Yeah.
the Tigers did with Flaherty. That's
Yeah.
just not.
He claimed they'd never come to him and asked him if he wanted to waive his no trade too. So they must
That's
have.
saw
not
that.
it's not a 10-team no trade.
Yeah, but if his agent is worth his shit, the 10 teams are mostly good teams because
Well,
mostly teams in the hunt. I'm sure the Yankees and Red Sox are on it, right? Because it's not like you don't want to go there, but if they work out a deal, you want some leverage to get a little extra cash.
yeah.
Right.
But you also do put teams on you just don't want to play for. Like you put the A's on it immediately, although they're not going to take you because you make money. Maybe you don't have to put the A's on it. You probably don't put the A's and the
Not if
Marlins
you
on
would,
it.
right? The
So it'd just
A's
be
are
like
sort of their own.
Yeah, just you put the Cardinals on it, just so you wouldn't have to go there. Ever.
It worked for Kerr Flood went to Philadelphia. Didn't want to go to Philadelphia from St. Louis because he thought Philadelphia was more racist than St. Louis, right?
Yeah. Well, they're pretty close.
It's a push.
The White Sox I thought Chris Getz did a great job. He managed to package 2 of his 4 assets in one deal and got squat in return.
Yeah.
Right.
That was amazing.
Congratulations. He did get
What do you-
Eloy. He did get Eloy's last $13 million off his books, though.
What did he think that he was getting? Like, what? How do you think that worked out? Like, do you think he just sort of forgot about the players the Cardinals were going to trade? Like, what do you think happened? Like, they got Vargas, who's a pretty good prospect,
Yeah.
put together, but like,
Vargas, and then one of the other guys that people think could be good. So I'm sure they think, "Ooh, we did great." It was weird though that the Cardinals got into that deal and only traded Tommy Edman. They didn't have to give up anything.
Right.
Right. Who's been hurt all year anyway.
Because it sounds like let's see this. What was it? It had to be.
Well, they took the most from the White Sox in that trade. I want to say they got Fetty and
Pham.
Yeah,
Tommy Pham. That's right.
Yeah,
and the Dodgers wound up with Edman.
They wanted him. That apparently they had been talking to the Cardinals about him for a while, and they couldn't quite work it out. And then they were working on a deal for Kopech, and they somehow just
Kopech.
Friedman just said, "All right, there's a deal here because you're talking to them and we're talking to you, and let's just do this." I guess. Eric Fetty he's having a good year, but he's still Eric Fetty. And right. Tommy Pham, it's funny. Tommy Pham was of course, he's always mad, but he was so pissed when he was in St. Louis. He was just the angriest person ever. It'd be funny to know how his reaction was when he found he was going back.
He was playing for, I think
Tony.
Was that still LaRussa?
Yeah, he was playing for Tony, and he hated Tony.
God, I mean,
but he hated the organization too because he was like, he's older than everybody thinks because he didn't make it to the big leagues until he was 28.
Yeah, he's
and
like
he blamed the Cardinals for that. Like they just wouldn't call him up. But he's also, he's okay. He's never been that.
He's
good.
fine. Right. He's a major league average player.
He had a good playoffs last year, right, for the Diamondbacks, and that's what people were banking on. But he was so in demand that it was May, and he didn't have a team. There was somebody who was disappointed that the Cubs didn't get something for Jorge Lopez.
Wait, what?
It's like the whole league. He cleared waivers 6 weeks ago. The whole league said they didn't want him. So
any team could have.
Yeah.
People are weird.
People are dumb, mostly.
Yeah.
So as Praz pointed out on the Twitters, the Cubs won the Jose Quintana trade.
Yes. I asked that today. I was in the office today, and I literally asked that of my of a couple of Sox fans.
And you weren't even aware of Eloy being traded at the time, too. So,
somebody
officially. Go ahead.
Yeah, somebody literally showed me we were having a happy hour. CEO was in town from Toronto. I found out today that my CEO doesn't like Caleb Williams for some reason. He's from Toronto. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, so somebody showed me that the Orioles got Eloy Jimenez. I'm like, oh, does this mean the Cubs won the Quintana trade?
I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at it.
Were you waiting for confirmation? That's why I didn't believe it when he first came on.
No, I couldn't find it. I was looking through MLB rumors. I was kind of scrolling. Wait, where is this?
All right. Sorry, I stepped all over there, Praz.
No worries. I was just saying, a couple different ways to look at it. Obviously, Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease had been the more valuable players to what as far as what they did individually on the White Sox than what Jose Quintana did with the Cubs. But the Cubs at least had a little more team success, especially in that first season when Quintana became a Cub. I mean, hell, he was damn near responsible for them making it to that NLCS. You could blame his wife for them losing that NLCS.
Right. It is. It's all her fault. Stupid panic attack on the
exactly.
I don't begrudge. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. I don't bemoan the Quintana trade.
No, he was cheap, and they had him signed for a long time, and he was younger than it seemed like.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too.
It was fine.
The situation the Cubs were in called for them to acquire a guy like that.
Yeah.
Because the only pitchers they had under contract at that time were Lester and Hendricks. Arrieta was going to be a free agent next year.
Yep.
Lackey was due to retire, and they didn't even have a full rotation at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, but they had all that young pitching coming up through the. Oh, that's right, they didn't.
Yeah, the pitch lab.
And Theo had always said it could have just been bullshit. That if the Cubs hadn't started to play better, they were gonna go the opposite. He'd seen too many World Series teams that the next year you couldn't just bring it all back, and he was gonna if they started to play well before the break, and he decided to add. But otherwise, he claims he was going to make some moves to set them up for some pitching for the next year, and it would have involved trading some of our beloved Cubs. When instead they just waited and let Jed do it 4 years later when they didn't have any value. So.
It would have been more painful had Theo done it.
And if it hadn't worked, we'd have wanted to kill him.
That was the year after the World Series.
Yeah, it was just months after the.
Yeah, like
I remember going into that season thinking nobody repeats. Well,
it's fine.
This year's like kind of the free. We're just going to enjoy. We're world champs for the whole year. We're just going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if they get back, and they did. They got back to the playoffs. Oh, that's cool. It was 18 and 19 that were the disappointments, not 17.
Right.
I mean, you expect what happened in 17 to happen.
But even in 17, like there's no way, like it would have been malpractice to blow up the team in 17.
Yeah, and I don't know. He may have just met one guy.
Maybe just trading away Jake. Yeah,
that could have been it. Move him because they were going to lose him. I don't know. But the current Cubs made the only move of real consequence that they made, until, of course, Nate Pearson turns into a superstar, was giving up on Christopher Morel and getting a guy that they signed to an amateur contract the same year that they got him, who they had traded away in the tiny face Justin Wilson trade. Isaac Paredes.
Chris Morel, just so we're level setting here, is 4 months younger than Isaac Paredes.
See, that could make all the difference.
And has played in 90 fewer games.
Has Isaac ever stuck his arm through a convenience store door? No.
That's true.
Chris has done that.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'm sure if Taylor gets to interview his mom or his dad.
We'll know. Yep. I'm sure that'll happen. But, yeah.
Now,
there were probably some smashed windows when he was in Detroit that he may have stuck his arm through.
Yeah. He was just he saw the Joe Louis sculpture and he just wanted to replicate it. That's a big fist.
Yeah. Take this, Max Schmeling.
Now, there's some fear around him. Now, clearly, he's a better defensive third baseman than Christopher Morel because everybody is a better defensive third baseman than Christopher Morel.
Raz is a better defensive third baseman. Sorry, no offense, Brian.
He is he's an extreme pull hitter. Every one of his homers this year was pulled. In fact, basically, isn't every one of his career pulled, I think?
Sure.
69 of them.
We can go with it.
Yes. According to Baseball Savant, yep.
And this year in particular, a lot of his home runs barely cleared the 314 wall in the trop for home runs. And those would likely be outs or doubles, maybe.
Why? Do you know for sure that it's barely?
Yeah, because you can see on his Baseball Savant thing, see where the ball lands.
Yeah. No, I got you.
There's a lot of them that didn't go the 353 that he would need to get it.
All right. Well, that's
so
cool.
So there's some concern. But you know what? Why are we worried? I'm sure the Cubs crack front office. They know all this. They have all kinds of data that shows, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm looking at his Baseball Savant page.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
He's the anti-Christopher Morel.
Now, it could be that he really did tailor his game to that park. And he's going to tailor his game to Wrigley Field when he gets there next week. And it'll all be fine.
I know nobody can see this other than you guys, but this is my I believe you face.
Definitely. You know what, though? Looking at his Baseball Savant page right now, they have it on the right side there. They have it with Wrigley Field laid over there. And most of the home runs are still the same. There's even some that
that is Wrigley Field.
Yeah, they changed it. They're quick over there at the Savant.
Yeah, they changed it up. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean,
how is it possible that there would be home runs that are foul balls at Wrigley Field?
Well, maybe where the fact that a ball would go behind the foul pole in Tampa that wouldn't go behind the foul pole at Wrigley.
Explain.
Is the thing that I can.
What?
So you're saying he sliced it so hard that it's fair when it goes around the pole in the trop, But if the pole was another 40 feet deep,
I see what
that
you're
thing
saying.
is, Steve Bartman is whacking it onto the field.
Or the guy in Kansas City from this past weekend.
I can't believe they kicked that guy out.
Yeah.
That ball's a home run. It's going to hit the pole.
Exactly.
Honestly, he probably saved you having to put a little paint touch up on the pole. You should be thanking him, not kicking him and his small child out of the game.
Did you see, too, though, that Royals fans were, pissed about it because there's apparently some promo with the Royals that if a home run ball goes off the foul pole, everyone in the stadium wins a free Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Oh, well, maybe that's why they threw him out.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just like the Bartman thing. They were for his own safety.
Yeah, there you go.
Escorting him out of the stand. Before the chicken crate. And I would have just been, it's fucking closed tomorrow anyway, assholes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But there are good things on the Isaac Paredes baseball savant page. He rarely strikes out. He rarely swings and misses. He walks.
Yes.
So he does have a particular set of skills. And he learned the basic fundamentals of baseball from the Cubs.
What could go wrong?
No. Maybe maybe the Rays corrected it. They unlearned all this shit that he learned the wrong way from the Cubs.
Well, he might relearn it now.
He's a Cub for at least 2 more years after this.
Yeah.
He's in his first year of arbitration. So
let me ask you a question. So knowing that Paredes and Morel are 4 months apart, Morel has 90 fewer games, 9 fewer home runs. OPS plus 105 for Morel career, 113 or so, 118, something like that for Paredes. Who do you think will wind up with a better career?
I mean, so far it would be Paredes. He's been in the big leagues longer. He's been an all-star so far this season.
Longer is meh.
Yeah.
90 games. It's a lot of games, but...
Yeah. I would trust in Paredes having the better career. He's a better defender. That's a skill that will transfer to any park that you play in.
But knowing that Morel probably isn't going to be counted on to be the everyday third baseman, I would think.
He better not be. It's Junior Caminero time, folks. I haven't stashed him on my fucking bench all season for him to have Christopher Morel parked in front of him.
Exactly.
See, this is the important stuff that we're getting into now.
I mean, if you want to talk about that league, we can.
What? How you and I are running away with it? Is that what you want to tell everybody?
You and I running away with it is like when people say that the most home runs by a brother tandem is the Aarons.
What? What am I behind? What am I behind?
You're like
10
games back.
We just played and I beat you 9-3.
Yeah, I had an off week.
Yeah.
It was that weird All-Star week. All right, I don't think anybody wants to hear about this.
Nobody cares. Even the other guys in our league don't care. I'm not sure I care all that much. I was just going to look up quick. Did he play? Is he playing third base tonight for the Rays? Or they already?
I got their page up. He was at second tonight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
See, now that's where I think that's his best defensive position. The second.
I think so too.
And I was going to say it does. So a question immediately came to mind when they made that trade. Oh, I haven't answered the question about. I think Christopher Morel will have a better career than Isaac Paredes.
I think so too.
I think he's certainly a more talented all-around player. All I guess defense is part of the around.
I'm not mad about the trade.
For the trade for him. I think it's a very good trade for Christopher Morel.
Yeah, I think so too.
He'll go play for the Rays for a couple of years. They're going to trade him to a good team at the deadline in 2 years, and then that's probably where he'll re-sign for big money someplace, and he'll be very happy. But it did make me want. So if Paredes is your third baseman now, and you've got Matt Shaw, who everybody just assumed he was going to go there, and you have the great James Triantos,
and the great Cam Smith.
Well, Cam's a third baseman. I think Shaw is probably more of a second baseman anyway.
Okay.
And Triantos is.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if this winter Nico Hoerner has a new address.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, I kind of thought maybe they would trade him today just because if you're a team with a good offense who needs a second baseman, you think he'd be all over Nico, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you don't need him to be a plus offensive player, he is a plus defensive player at second base, and second base is an important position now when they got rid of the shift. Second baseman has to do a lot. You can't just put Jeff Kent or Daniel Murphy. I could not remember Daniel Murphy's name last week. I called him the homophobe who played for the Cubs and the Mets, and everybody knew what I meant.
I was screaming at my phone when I heard that. I'm like, hey.
And Dave didn't even bother to chime in. He's just like, he's rolling. Let him go.
Yes.
I mean, Nico would be a really nice player to have. The Cub offense is so bleh and has so few places where it can legitimately improve. He doesn't really fit because of that. It's not Nico's fault, but he's not. He's a league average offensive player at his peak, but he might be a league average offensive player for like 8 years, which would be valuable given the fact he's a shortstop playing second base. So I kind of thought he was worth more to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right now than he certainly is to the Cubs, and I kind of wonder that he's like one of Jed's precious, and he can't part with him.
I thought he had the Dodgers or the Yankees written all over him. Like both of those would have been perfect.
One move today that kind of made me think of Nico was the Royals trading for Paul DeJong from the White Sox. I mean, his natural position is shortstop, and you're not playing shortstop on the same team as Bobby Witt Jr. Wouldn't you want to just get a guy who can play second base instead? I wonder if the Cubs were in talks. I would like to think they were, since they were just in town in Kansas City.
Well, it would have worked, right? So the Royals trade for Paul DeJong, and then the Cubs trade Nico for Bobby Witt Jr. And then DeJong plays short, and Nico plays second.
Hang on. Maybe what it was that they couldn't agree on what else the Royals should have to chip in.
Right. Or wouldn't it be funny if the holdup was they did have a deal, but the Royals were like, you have to take Nelson Velasquez back. And Jed's like, fuck no. No.
Keep that guy far away from me.
You want Alexander Canario? You want the set?
He's like, I don't even have Jose Cuas to get back to you.
I got a UPS tracking number on him. No, it's not a UPS. It's just his phone number because he's back driving the UPS truck. Yeah, the other thing I worry about with the Paredes thing now is, is he blocking Nick Madrigal?
Well, I don't think anybody can block Nick Madrigal.
They can platoon Michael Busch and Paredes at first when Nick comes back.
Right?
Yeah. I think that would work. That'll get Nick all of his at bats.
Yeah.
I feel bad for little Nick. He must have really done a number on that tiny little bone in his hand. He's still not back.
It's a really small bone.
Yeah. Why the doctors can't find it.
Yeah, like something's broken.
Like we need to just put that back in place. We don't know where it is.
They think that it's actually just a bone spur, not an actual bone.
They're playing operation with him at this point.
Do you think we will ever see Nick Madrigal play for the Cubs again?
God, I hope not.
That's a loaded question.
I did bring it up on Twitter earlier today that I would like to see it where next year on opening day, he's right between Luke Little and the new guy they got from the Yankees for the player introductions. Because you got two guys that'll be 6'8", 6'9". Yeah.
Is that right? Is that how big that guy is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Doubtful we ever see him though.
Yeah. The Cubs, they go through lots of guys roll through that bullpen. That was a question I asked. I couldn't come up with a good answer for it. But I was like, if the Cubs had traded Jameson Taillon today, how long would it take for you to forget that he ever pitched for the Cubs? Because I don't know that it would take me that long.
Wow.
It's one of those, like 3 years ago, I'd be kind of like Chris Volstad. Like, did he ever really pitch? I remember the name.
Chris Volstad.
I ever see him pitch for the Cubs?
Well, the reason why you remember Chris Volstad,
traded for Carlos.
Traded for Carlos Martino or
Carlos Semper. Yeah, Carlos Martino.
Yeah.
Huh.
You're right. That's the only reason I remember him. It was because he got traded for. He was our return for Carlos Zambrano.
That's a good question. I don't know.
But
hopefully we'll find out soon enough the answers to that question.
Yeah, I don't hold out hopes for that. I think
you think he's here for 2 more years?
Yeah, at least one more. I think it probably was tough. Because I was trying to make the case. I couldn't even make it very enthusiastically. That maybe because he had 2 years of control, it actually made him worth more. Like a team's like, he's a pretty good pitcher. He's a better than league average pitcher, and we got certainty. But I kind of wonder if teams were interested, but like, okay, how much of his contract are you going to eat? Because we're not paying this dude $18 million next year and the year after. And the Cubs are like, oh, we're not doing that.
I'll say, like if he were a free agent after this year, I think that he would get, $36 million for 2 years. Like it's not, he would get that.
Right. I agree with that. But I kind of think at the deadline, when you're making the deal, you probably have a choice of a pitcher who you think is relatively close to him that you don't have to do that for.
Yeah, I know.
And that instead of that being, hey, look at this, it's one less headache. You got a starting pitcher for 3 years. Teams are like, we'll take the headache.
Yeah,
give us.
All right,
we'll trade for Trevor. We'll trade more. We'll offer more for Trevor Rogers instead. So,
all right, that's fair enough.
I don't know. I just assume that's what it was. There was a guy though on Twitter who's like, the Cubs should just let him go because then he's listing all they got Wisniewski and they got Jordan Wicks and they got Ben Brown. And it's like, that's great, but I mean, how many of those guys do we know already? We can count on none. So we're gonna have to go sign a veteran in the offseason, and now they don't have to because they still have Big Jimmy.
They still have who?
Big Jimmy Tyon.
Oh yeah.
J-Mo is the dumbest, laziest nickname.
J-Mo, yeah.
I refuse to call him that.
He just sounds like that name sounds like he's like a New Orleans like ship captain or something. Jameson Tyon.
His name is Jameson. Parents big drinkers.
Yeah.
His head is too small for that body too. That bothers me.
Come on over here. Let me make you a shrimp po' boy.
Was there anybody you were surprised that they didn't trade today? There were a couple of guys that I was surprised they didn't.
I really am surprised they didn't trade Tyon, but whatever.
Tyon's one. I was wondering if, like, I don't know how big of a demand there would have been for a guy just coming off the injured list would be, but a little surprised like there isn't seemingly an interest in Bellinger at all. And, as we mentioned, Nico Hoerner, that, he's likely going to get moved in the offseason. So why not?
This is tough. I don't know. Jed may love him so much he won't even entertain it. Right. The two guys I was surprised didn't get traded were I thought Drew Smiley and Mike Tauchman would both get traded.
Yeah, they're like nobody cares. Like,
because lefty relievers. And if you don't have to give up much for it, everybody needs one. You'd think they'd take a flyer on Smiley. The Braves seem to they're just trying to rebuild the 21 World Series team. So I thought maybe they would get somebody to bring Smiley back.
Bring back Jorge.
I really thought the Giants wanted to get a center fielder so they could move Elliot Ramos to the corner. And all they ended up with was Mark Canha, who they can't play in center field. And I thought, well, they like Tauchman. They'll throw. You don't have to. How much would you possibly have to give up to get Mike Tauchman? Hardly anything.
But
because what good is he doing the Cubs the rest of the year, the rest of the way?
Well, I also feel like they're going to put guys like Smiley on waivers anyway, just to see if anybody can get rid of, will take that salary on. Do they still have like revocable waivers?
They do, but you can't.
They're not playoff eligible.
Right.
There's no trades anymore. Either you lose,
right. But
all you'll do now, you would save the salary, but you won't get anything back.
That's what I mean. I don't think anybody was offering anything. But
we know they do because remember the Angels put everybody on waivers last year to try to get under the luxury tax.
Yeah.
And then two of them wound up on the Reds right when they were about to play the Cubs. Hunter Renfroe was one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's when we realized that the Major League Baseball waivers aren't as fair as fantasy baseball waivers, because the way it works is the worse you are, the higher you are up. But if you claim a guy, it's not you go to the bottom of the list. You just keep claiming. Mm-hmm. So the playoff contender with the worst record could have claimed all those Angels if they wanted. You just have them all, and that's ridiculous. And they didn't change it. I'm sure that's a thing they won't address until the collective bargaining agreement. They probably won't care. Players apparently are who we have to blame for no waiver trades anymore. They didn't like the extra month of uncertainty, so they bargained out their way out of it. I always liked it because it created like what we'd be talking about for the next few days. Rumors we get out about who got put on waivers and who got claimed and who got claimed by who. It was just an extra layer. And then the 98 Cubs were kind of a big part of their core was built from a ridiculous waiver trade in 1997.
Lance Johnson.
Yeah, Lance Johnson. Yeah. It was like 1 for 1. It was Lance Johnson for Brian McRae. It was Mark Clark for who did we give up to? I forget who the Cubs gave up to get Mark Clark. Anyway, it was an 8-player waiver trade. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? It was basically just it was like 2 board GMs just like, all right, fine. We don't like these guys. Take them. We'll give them the guys you're going to replace them with. We'll take them. Manny Alexander might have been in that.
Maybe Sammy's buddy.
Yeah, he was wrapping some cash in a towel when they told him.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say, you know what? Looking at the roster right now, another guy I'm surprised didn't go. Was there no interest in Tyson Miller at all? Like 1.44 ERA, just a hair under a strikeout an inning, like really good strikeout to walk ratio. Seems like the kind of guy that like would have been in demand for a contending team.
Yeah, I wonder if the Cubs actually need to like keep him. Like he's going to be he's going to be in next year's bullpen. He's one of their old draft picks.
That's true.
Judd's trying to get them all back.
But he's another guy who like was just on waivers, like 2 months ago, less than that, month and a half ago. So whatever.
All right, so it was
like nobody's giving up anything for any of these guys. Like I said, the Cubs probably put them on waivers at some point.
Let's see. Mel Rojas, Turk Wendell, Brian McRae, and Manny Alexander they've got the players. They don't have the players made later in here. For Lance Johnson.
Are you looking on the like transaction page?
Yeah. Was that a 98? Yeah, I guess it was.
If you go to any of the individual players, like I'm on Mel Rojas's baseball reference page right now, it'll show like who was sent there completely. Like it said on August 11th, the Mets sent Mark Clark and then on the 14th, the Mets sent Manny Alexander.
Look at all the stars. Woo!
Yeah, really.
You should have had one of those. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't get the league. I mean, Tucker Barnhart still doesn't have a team. I mean, come on. Nobody's snapped up. You got a high-quality catcher. Martin Maldonado doesn't have a team. What's going on? Does anybody want to win?
You would think that the Cubs would claim Tucker Barnhart just so they could trade him. That's how much in demand I would imagine Tucker Barnhart is.
Yeah. Instead, he's just cashing Cub checks back in wherever he's in. Where is he from? Is he back in Brownsburg, Indiana? He could live like a king on his Cub money in Brownsburg,
I would
Indiana.
imagine. Like it probably takes 1/100th of his salary to live like a king. What the Cubs are paying.
So the Brewers got Frankie Montas from the Reds.
Yes.
If you'd have asked me 2 minutes before they trade who Frankie Montas was pitching for, I would not have remembered that he was pitching for the Reds.
I wouldn't. Right. I don't think I would either.
I think I would have said A's because I think I remember he was part of like the Jeff Samardzija trade with the White Sox back then, and I thought he just would have stayed there. Yeah.
The White Sox gave up Frankie Montas.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably makes the White Sox fans much sadder than giving up Tatis Jr. for James Shields.
Yeah, probably. The two guys going to Cincinnati, a couple of real stars. Jacob Junis, who I always get confused, even though he hasn't pitched for like a decade. Jeff Juden.
Yeah, wait.
They're the same. They're the same guy in my mind.
Frankie, wait, who did Frank? Oh, to the Brewers.
He went from the Brewers to the Reds. And
I thought he was like, wait, I thought Junis was on the Giants.
He was last season. Now he was a Brewer for this season.
Oh.
And one of the Brewer that I could not believe this guy was in the big leagues just because of his ridiculous swing. Joey Wiemer.
Who? Joe Wiemer? That's what they got. That's what they go for Montas.
That ridiculous swing where it looks like he's starting with the bat up his ass and it ends up in his ass. It's like, what the? How did you get through college with that swing, much less to the big leagues? I don't get it.
I did not know that. But that's what they give up. That is.
There are a lot of trades of guys I don't know who the hell some of these guys are.
All right. Who else?
Well, like Josh Walker to the Pirates for Nicholas Carino. That's a huge trade, right?
Who's Josh Walker?
I don't know who either of those guys are. They could be made up for all I know.
Right.
One Pirates, guy, I know. A very good pitcher with a terrible name. Lucas Ursig from the A's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He got traded for 3 dudes for the Royals. Ursig's a good reliever, and I think has 4 years of control or something. And that's the
that's the pressure, right?
Yeah.
Former Brewers farmhand, I believe.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Yeah.
And it's always funny when a guy like Luis Garcia. Which
one?
The Angel. He got traded for 4 guys.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Well,
none of them any good, but he got traded for 4 people.
I have to be honest. Like that's sort of akin to how the White Sox Braves trade from the offseason. Aaron Bummer for 4 Braves, all of whom you've heard of, but none of whom are any good. But
Mike Soroka and
I mean, it's one team with it's clearly one team clearing spots on a 40-man.
Yes, yeah, clearly,
and just throwing them onto a team that has like the White Sox who have 10 open spots.
Yes. No, I get it. I understand why it happened, but it's just hilarious to read that transaction. Like, what? How does Aaron Bummer, who's good, but how's he worth 4 guys who played in the majors? Well, most I don't know if all of them have, but whatever.
The Marlins traded 9 guys
today
over the last 3 days, I think.
Oh yeah. 9?
So more than a third of their roster.
Yeah. I saw De La Cruz got traded, Rogers.
Crazy to think that there were 9 guys in the Marlins that other teams wanted.
Now, if they trade guys on their injured list, they could have cleaned up. They got a freaking all-star pitching staff on the injured list.
Well, yeah, Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah. Jose Fernandez.
I don't think he's on the injured list anymore.
Yeah, he's on a different list.
He was designated for burial.
He's on the long-term.
You got DFB'd. That's the worst thing that can happen to you.
I don't feel good about myself for making that joke.
Me neither.
I don't mind.
We're going to get sued for this.
I enjoy it, though, when the Cardinals hang on to guys way too long. Like
Darryl Kyle?
Oh, yeah.
The death joke's coming. Jesus.
Wow. They hung on to him for 2 years afterwards. They were still hanging his jersey. The season after he died, they hung his freaking jersey in the dugout again. And it's like, come on.
I got to be honest. The only reason why I said Darryl Kyle is because I couldn't remember right away that prospect.
Oscar Tavares.
That's it.
For Josh Hancock. You have there's a whole plethora of dead Cardinals.
Well, oh, God.
Dylan Carlson.
Yeah.
Center fielder.
Guaranteed rookie of the year, right? Just like Randall Grichuk.
Right.
Oh yeah, that was fun when Cardinals fans thought that he should have won rookie of the year over Chris Bryant.
Well, he's finally better. It took him a decade.
Is he?
But this is stats wise. I'd still rather have Chris.
I mean, is it stats? Is he
what is Chris hitting?
I'm
111.
I'm seriously. I understand where
Randy's still kicking around.
All right, I know Grichuk is, but is he better? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
He just played the Cubs. He's a Diamondback. 272, 333, 420. He's a 112 OPS plus.
Okay, solid player.
He sucks, and I wouldn't want him on my team, but still.
All right, fuck that guy.
Former Cub Dylan Floro got traded.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that.
The Mets picked up some Zubaz. Oh, Zuber. Tyler Zuber. I thought they traded for some zebra striped pants. I was all excited.
Who used to? It was it Dan Hampton who used to wear them all the time? I guess a bunch of the Bears did in the late 80s, early 90s. Like you'd see them in Platteville, like all the shots from Platteville. They were all
Zubaz. How was that ever? They were basically pajama pants.
Yeah,
wearing them like pants. Look at these, they're awesome. It's like, no, they're not.
I bet they're super comfortable. It's like I don't think they wore them to a wedding. Maybe.
If I remember right, I think very late in the 2012 season for the Cubs, one of the giveaways was Cubs Zubaz pants because they were that desperate to get fans in the stands for what was one of the worst teams ever. Yeah.
How would that help get fans in the seats? I do speaking of I do appreciate the Pat Hughes sweater T-shirt. I wish I had one now.
I got an extra one if you want one.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I do. That'd be
2013.
Awesome. That's when they gave away the Zubas?
Yes. They called it Zubaz-a-Palooza. Did they only give them away in the I'm having a hard time finding it here. You give away. Yeah, only in the Budweiser bleachers. You only got the Zubaz in the bleachers. You didn't get them.
Well, did they make you change into them right there in front of them?
It wouldn't be the first time that people have taken their pants off in the bleachers, especially when you're around that perch that Al sits on.
Those are so awful that not even Clark would wear them.
That was other giveaways that year were Kentucky Derby hats.
All right.
Kerry Wood garden gnomes, cowboy hats, a lucha libre mask, and then Zubaz. And then September 23rd was Zubaz-a-Palooza.
Somehow I remember that Nacho Libre mask giveaway. Mm-hmm. I didn't get one, but I don't know what it is about it that I remember it. It sounds like a terrible idea to put it on your head right there at the game. Wash the shit out.
Probably would never be a giveaway these days with how much they want to have facial recognition going in with everyone coming in the stands.
Do the Cubs have that?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure it's all part of the, when you walk through the metal detectors when you first come in.
They're not metal detectors.
Well, scanners.
Yeah, that freaks me out. There's sort of these weird airport scanners without you having to stand with your hands over your head.
Is it like an MRI?
I don't know. But
is Carlos Zambrano afraid to go through them?
Yes. Yeah, right. Probably got to have a special entrance for Carlos Zambrano these days.
One of the great moments in Cub history was the.
All right, I got to tell you the story. I went to the Cubs game with a bunch of friends. This was what game was it? Maybe it was against the Giants. This a little bit earlier this year. June 19th. It was Juneteenth. Went to the Cubs game, and I have a metal the spray tanning the SPF 30 or whatever it is, the lotion, the sunblock. That's what I'm looking for.
That's good.
And I have it in my I'm wearing cargo shorts. I have it in my pocket, and I walk through, and I go to them what are those things what is this? What does it show you guys? Things metal sunblock sprays, things like that. And I'm like this that I just walked through. Oh, thank you, and took it away from me.
Oh,
dude, wow. You guys. Yeah, I'm no, who cares, right? I'm hey, let me at least spray myself. But it's hilarious that they're oh, it's the first thing they said, and I'm oh, the one thing that I just walked through that thing with.
Huh. Bang up job by the Cubs security there. You were saying, Andy, about the Carlos Zambrano MRI story, though. I think I remotely remember that.
Yeah, so he left. He left to start with an injury. And then this is back when the Cubs were on WGN radio. And a couple of hours after WGN Radio was reporting that Carlos was missing. He had not reported for his. He was supposed to go. The Cubs didn't have an MRI machine. He had to go to like a some clinic or hospital or whatever to get the MRI. And if anybody's seen Carlos, please remind him he's supposed to go get his MRI. It wasn't an open one. He had to get in it, and he'd had one before, and he freaked out, and he refused to do it. He wasn't going to get in the MRI machine. They had to go find an open MRI machine for Carlos the next day because he's like, I'm not getting in.
Open? Is that like? Is it not like the surgical?
Yeah, you don't have to get in the tube.
Yeah.
Carlos said, "Fuck it, I'm not doing it." So,
yeah,
there was couldn't diagnose him because he refused to get in the machine.
I have to get like a CT scan every year, just because of colon cancer thing, and so I have to get a CT scan every year. And they put this dye in, and when they put the dye in, it makes it feel like you're pissing your pants.
Oh.
They literally warn you. They're like, you're gonna feel warmth, and it's gonna feel like you're pissing your pants.
And you're like, oh, I know what that's like. Don't believe it.
Don't worry about it. I'm drunk already. But yeah, so that's a thing.
I'll say one move I somewhat fascinated by. Giants and the Guardians made. Alex Cobb going to the Guardians. Feels like, Guardians know what the hell they're doing with their pitching infrastructure, especially after Carter Hawkins came to the Cubs and left there.
Hey, we got Carter. Now we have only the smart guys.
Well, I want to point out that they haven't been as good in the pitching department.
No, but they can hit now somehow.
Right.
Somehow they score runs with that weird lineup. They score. Carter was holding them back.
Stephen Kwan just never makes outs, apparently.
Dude, that guy's like, holy shit.
Well, the Cobb thing was funny because the Giants were trying to get him back so that he could make a start because he's been rehabbing an injury all year before the trade deadline, and he wasn't quite ready. They think he's probably ready now, and they're like, oh shit, it's going to hurt his. But they had decided that they weren't going to trade Snell, and they weren't going to trade Robbie Ray, and they've got Logan Webb, and they're going to try to make a run at it. And they felt like we have an extra starter, and that should be worth something. But who's going to give us? And they got an actual player for Cobb. He was he's had his moments. He's been good, but who knows what you're getting.
The Giants are a good example of like sort of being parallel, right? I mean, they gave up They gave up Soler.
Yeah. I think they couldn't believe the Braves would take his whole contract. They were just like, okay, really? We owe $36 million, and they're like, we'll take it.
Yeah,
all of it. And they said yes.
Yeah, the Braves don't care.
He's going to have to play the outfield for them.
Yeah,
he has not stepped foot in the outfield all year. Giants didn't have him bring a glove to games. He did. He played some right last year for the Marlins.
Wait, who's the Braves DH?
It's Ozuna.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that Ozuna has been as good of a hitter as he has been this season, but also just they're desperate for outfielders with Acuna being out, with I don't know, Chipper Jones being out.
Marquise Grissom and Andrew Jones are both gone.
Yeah,
it's been rough recently for the. Well, and if you're Ozuna, he's having a really good year because he's a complete piece of shit. But he's having a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Jorge is clearly their DH now after this year.
Yeah,
because they have paying him whatever it's $36 million. They're like, oh, Marcel, thanks, great season. Good luck. I'm sure you'll find somebody else to play for.
That combined Acuna and Albies is a $135 million contract for 7 years, like starting like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, Braves got some damn good deals on their guys, man.
Dude, who the hell is their agent?
I know. Well, the Cubs got Ian Happ. They locked him up. So
I can't believe, I know we kind of make fun of it, but like Ian Happ would go to Atlanta. Can't believe that, and he's an actual outfielder.
You think he would go if they?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to think that.
I think he won. I think he. Nope.
What's
staying? I got the no trade for a reason. I got my coffee empire to run, and I'm not leaving. Although everybody on his podcast now is unemployed.
Zach Short.
Yeah, see if he can run the coffee business while you're He's probably he probably rented a place in Atlanta, and Ian could stay there.
Dakota Mecca's still tossing balls.
I'm sure he is somewhere.
Yeah, that's a fun trade deadline, huh?
Yeah, so Trevor Rogers from the Marlins to the Orioles for Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. Dave, big Connor Norby fan.
It's funny that I've heard of those guys, but they're not nearly as good of prospects as I thought they were.
Are they not as good as you think because of their ranking on the Orioles system? Because like if Connor Norby was a Cub, he probably would be like their third best prospect.
No, look, all right, like the Cubs have a pretty good farm system. It's worth like $350 million on Fangraphs.
Okay, but I think the Cub farm system it's depth. It's not impact.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same problem they have with the major league team. Mm-hmm. They don't really have an impact player, right? There's no like you kind of made this point with Dave. There's no impact. Like maybe you hope that like they finally sort of took a run at a ceiling player with Cam Smith, it sounds like. But everyone else is like high floor, low ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, you need guys like that. It's better. Certainly, it's better than what they have had because they've got guys in the minors who you can actually project to play in the big league. Well, and that's valuable. The problem, it would be great if the current roster had a couple of stars on it. Now you looked at the guys in the minors, like these guys are going to fill in perfectly around these guys. Yeah, but instead you're just going to bring up other like league average players, and they're all going to be playing together, and they're all going to be winning 79 games. How fun.
I mean, you hope, like, I guess there's kind of hope with Kevin Alcantara. Alcantara? Is it Alcantara?
No one really knows the right pronunciation. We need to get Len Casper involved to ask him personally.
He's Alcantara.
Okay. Yeah.
He's the opposite of Arismendi. It was
right. I think you can call the your local American Family Insurance and see if Len can help us out.
There you go.
Whatever he's doing.
I love that bit.
Cubs are so boring that we've spent 40 minutes talking
about everybody else.
Like they really are so fucking boring. Like holy crap! I can't imagine hating a team. Yeah, they just lost.
Yeah, it's not even like they're not hateable. They're not even interesting enough to hate.
That's kind of a good point.
They're just kind of like, oh, that's too bad.
They're apathetic is what they are.
Yeah. But Prez, you were surprised there were no offers for Cody. I think even if he had come back and played a week or two healthy, I just think that the Cubs would have to get really creative with that trade.
Yeah.
Because teams weren't going to want him to have the control over whether he stayed or not.
Right.
And so they would basically, you could do it a couple ways. You could do it with, if he opts in, the Cubs all of a sudden have to kick in X amount of money to that team to help pay for that contract next year, or there's a player to be named later that is a much better prospect if he doesn't opt in than it is if he does. And I think that's probably too complicated for Jed. So he's like, well, we'll just keep it.
But on the other hand, if the Braves took on $36 million of Soler, like $50 million over 2 years of Cody is probably, I mean, they probably didn't need a left-handed outfielder, but that's not going to be a terrible thing for them to do.
I mean, it could be other things too. It could be they might think they can, like Soler's average value is only like $13 million. So he's tradable.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get Cody for next year, he's not. You know, you've got him next year. And he's having such a weird year. He's really didn't have any impact when he was healthy on the Cubs. I mean, he's not as good as he was last year. And all the things that I poured through the numbers to defend him on, like, oh yeah, he does his exit velocity. He's not down that much. And, a lot of it has to be the 2-strike approach. He just didn't hit the ball hard this year, even when before he broke his finger. Of course, he hit a home run tonight, so maybe he needed the broken finger. And now the power's back with the broken finger. he's a good player, and he helps you in a lot of ways. But the Cubs really needed him to like take even another step from last year and get closer to MVP Cody than what
exactly.
They
need him to return to his MVP form.
Yeah, here's the thing: when the Cubs signed him before last year, you kind of hoped that he would wind up somewhere in, like, you knew he wasn't going to be the MVP again, and you were hoping he wouldn't be as bad, and he was sort of in between, and he's still, sort of almost halfway in between those two things, right?
It's funny. It's almost like what if Cody should have had this year, last year, and then last year's year, this year. And then you would see a progression, and teams would be like, look, he was pretty good last year. He was better, even better this year.
Yeah.
But instead, it's the opposite. He clearly wasn't that in demand in the market last year.
Right.
And he's going to go back on it this year, I would assume, to top that contract, unless he gets hurt again.
The other side of that,
find out it's not there. And I guarantee you this year, the Cubs are not going to be standing there with the safety net.
The other side of that coin, though, is like, if he has the year he's having this year, if he had it last year, Cubs are more than likely not as good of a team as they were, and they, were barely a buyer as it was. It took Dansby Swanson convincing Jed Hoyer to buy at last year's deadline. Without his production that made them good enough to even get to that point, they're probably just full on selling. So, maybe the Cubs are aggressively shopping him a little bit more, even if his numbers have been somewhat underwhelming. True. Yeah.
Like, his numbers are just bad enough that I'm not sure he opts out, but I'm also not sure that that's a bad thing. Like, I'm sort of like, I couldn't care less whether he opts out.
Yeah.
Like, if he comes back, fine.
I'm the same way. Like, if he announced it, month after the season that he's just going to pick up his option and he's coming back, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
But if he announced he's going out on the market, I would be fine with it. Okay. No, thanks, Cody. Go get him. I hope you go somewhere other than maybe like St. Louis, and you're good.
I don't know that I care as much about Cody going to St. Louis as I do about Wilson.
Well, he's in a great spot in St. Louis. I mean, you saw him yesterday with the Venezuelan elections going on, and he hit the home run, and he was all emotional, and he was talking about that, and then everybody in the dugout kind of looked at him like, what's, he's interrupting our Trump celebrations. What's he doing down there?
You think he's a Maduro guy?
No,
isn't Maduro a socialist?
Opposite. He was apparently with all the turmoil, he was very concerned that what happened would happen. That he would clearly win the election or lose the election and still stay in. And he was I don't know that he had the Venezuelan flag. Remember he had that Venezuelan flag?
Yeah, I love that sleeve. And then they made him stop wearing it.
Yeah, I don't know if he had snuck that in yesterday when he hit the home run, but apparently that's what was going on. I was wrong. When they first showed Morel in the dugout when he got pulled, I thought he was like emotional. But watching the replay, he wasn't. He was kind of like, oh, I guess I'm leaving. And he hugged everybody and said goodbye because, he's a nice dude and everybody likes him.
Mm-hmm.
But even he was kind of like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think he was emotional and then, wait, I'm going to the Rays?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
That might be better for me. All right, see you, suckers. Yeah. Enjoy fifth place forever.
He drives off, just yells back, so long, Stingtown.
Big move today, though, the Cubs made was Ian Happ is back in the leadoff spot. First time since like April 17th.
Like it's weird. I finally realized yesterday that I'm kind of sick of Nico. He's just not I don't know. I'm sick of him.
He's just not.
Maybe that's irrational.
He's not that good.
He's not that good.
No, he's a really good defensive player. All the things we talked about him before. Like on a good, if you had a team with really good players on it, you'd love him because he'd be the gutty guy making the big plays and coming up with a few scrappy hits and doing all the stuff.
Right.
But the Cubs don't have those other guys, and so he comes up in big spots, and you need him to get a hit because the guys in front of him didn't do it, and he doesn't do it. And then
if he's eighth in your lineup, you're okay.
Yep. Yeah, but him anywhere towards the top is a bad sign, and it has been a bad sign for them.
That's I guess that's my way of saying, all right, fine. So Happ is leading up. Whatever.
You guys, I don't know how much of you guys saw over the weekend of the Rick Sutcliffe experience. on Marquee.
Decent amount.
But Christian Bethencourt is now the backup catcher because Thomas Nido hurt his knee. His knee turned into dough. And you would have thought that they called up like Pudge Rodriguez in his prime because Bethencourt was catching. Because Rick, wait, you see his arm? It's like, it's Christian fucking Bethencourt.
Right.
He does have a great arm.
He does have a great arm.
Like he was thinking about being a pitcher a couple years ago.
They talked about that.
Yep. He was a two-way player with the Padres.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw that Brett Phillips was pitching the other day in a semi-pro game.
Oh, really?
Yankees signed him.
And the Yankees signed him today. They sent him to Class A Tampa. He was throwing 97 miles an hour as if in that. Yeah. I mean,
Is he throwing a knuckleball?
Well, we don't need to if he's throwing 97, do you?
Oh, wait, he's throwing 97?
97.
I think he said 50.
No, 97. Oh, he's got a great arm. He had a great arm as an outfielder, and
he
pitched. Council used him a bunch. He was kind of their. He wasn't as great.
Blowout pitcher.
Wasn't as great as Daniel Descalso, of course,
or David Bodie. Yeah,
Descalso is easily the most effective Cub left-handed reliever of all time. He never gave up a run.
Wait, did you say Anthony Rizzo was?
Well, he only pitched to one batter. I mean, he struck out Freddie Freeman. It was pretty good. But Descalso, I think, was like 5 scoreless innings.
Oh.
Let's take a look here. Yeah, wait, you said most effective left-handed reliever. He throws right because he was a second baseman and third baseman.
No, not Descalso. Not Descalso. Shit, I've had a stroke.
Descenzo is who you're probably thinking of.
Not Dave.
Yes.
Doug Descenzo. Yes. Jesus. How long are we into this podcast? An hour, right? Nobody's listening anymore.
No.
Oh, and I guess, and Phillips didn't pitch. They used him a lot in Tampa. Council didn't use him. He played at least a couple of years for the Brewers, but Craig wouldn't let him pitch. Craig's a turd. He got lit up a lot, but he. That's how many innings did he pitch? Oh, he pitched in 5 games. He pitched in 5 games over 4 years.
Yeah.
But he looked like a real deal. Who was the guy? There was a little lefty for the Anthony Ghosts. Wasn't that?
Oh, yeah.
He came back as a pitcher and was pretty good. He was effective for the then Indians.
Oh.
Yeah. And for 2 seasons. So it can happen. David Peralta used to be a pitcher. Before he got hurt and had to become an outfielder. It's all kinds of stuff.
Does he have that, still have that hot wife?
I don't know.
Is that was David Peralta, right?
I think so. Right? He's a handsome dude. You think he's that one?
Oh,
Jordan Laria?
No, maybe not.
Nah, she's all right.
Yeah, that's not who I was thinking.
No.
Since we were on the subject of position players pitching, I didn't even realize that. I remember like the name Brooks Kieschnick with the Cubs in the mid-90s.
The Brewers.
I would have thought that he pitched a little with the Cubs, but I'm looking at his pitching. It was only ever with the Brewers in 03 and 04.
He was going to be
the Cubs don't have any creativity.
Nope. He was going to be their power hitting right fielder for a decade.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah. I mean, he hit a lot of home runs at Texas, but he was their closer. Like he was good, and you would have thought.
What are you talking about?
Brooks Kieschnick, yes, University of Texas.
In college,
in Texas. I remember him being in Milwaukee, like
the University of Texas.
Not the Rangers.
Before you get after high school, that you can go to college, and he went to Texas.
Never been there.
Oh, because he pitched, the Brewers let him pitch a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He could have been
like Calvin Schiraldi and Roger Clemens were at Texas at the same time, and Roger Clemens was the closer, and Schiraldi was the Friday pitcher.
Calvin had good shit. He was just a little mentally easily intimidated, I think.
Uh-huh. Just a little intimidated.
Yeah, but when Jim Fry traded for him, he turned him back into a starter.
Yeah.
He felt like he was misused in Boston. And so that was going to
right.
That was going to fix him.
By misused, meaning that they let him pitch.
Yeah. But
yeah. Whatever.
He did us all a favor. Keeping the Red Sox from kept them at bay as long as he did. His contributions, keeping them from winning a World Series. He's an 89 Cub.
He is.
I'm on it too. Although traded on August 30th to the Padres.
Yes, his biggest contribution was he brought back one-eye, Luis Salazar and Marvell Wynn.
Oh. He came to the Cubs for
Lee Smith.
Lee Smith, yeah.
Lee Smith, yep.
Awful.
With Bob Nupper? Is that what it was?
Al Nipper.
Al Nipper,
okay.
Yeah.
It's your nipper and your nuppers.
God, what a terrible trade.
Confused.
That's who, Fry wanted, that's who he wanted. He wanted Calvin. He thought, oh, what a terrible mistake. Well, no, not a terrible mistake by the Red Sox. All right. Well, that's the trade deadline.
I'm glad we got some Remember This crap in.
Yes.
That was very enjoyable.
Thankfully, the Cubs now. Well, as Jed said last week, the Cubs are still excellently positioned for the future. I don't know.
Pieces are in place.
Yes, the places are in pieces.
That's a good way to put it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Many of us have herpes.
No, I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. Got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much. Awesome.